Local man who has traveled the world competing is about to embark on the biggest journey of his
What
life.
do you say to yourself to get through it when the going gets really tough? What's your inner mantra to yourself?
Emeny, the youngest person in the world to do an Ironman, all 6 kilometers from Canada.
All right, everyone. Welcome for another round of Let's Move Canada podcast. We're your hosts, Dana and Luigi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here today on Let's Move Canada with Ironman triathlete Connor Emeny, and we will talk to him about what inspired him to become the youngest person to run triathlons on all 7 continents, breaking the Guinness World Record, and also on what inspires him to stay active every day. And before we really dive into it, let me start by saying that this podcast is brought to you by the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, whose mission is to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. And to this end, of course, we have this podcast that aims to raise awareness about physical and mental health. And with that being said, now it's time to introduce our wonderful guest, Connor Emeny. And Connor is just this remarkable athlete who's recently achieved just lots of incredible things, especially becoming the world's first person to compete an Ironman triathlon on all 7 continents. Now, his journey spanned nearly 4 years, overcoming a lot of challenges, including battling hypothermia, enduring grueling bike rides, and just navigating lots of hurdles in remote locations. And his determination is not only the only thing that sets him apart, but there's also the support of his family, especially his brother. Now, despite all of these setbacks, he continues to show that there is determination and support for loved ones that continues to push people forward. And once you have a dream, you can make a difference in the world. Connor, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Luigi, and great to be here with you, Dana, as well. And honored to share my story and what it takes or means to dare to dream.
Love it.
Amazing. So our first question is, we want to know a little bit about your backstory. Like, where did you grow up? Were you very active? Did you play school sports? All that type of thing.
Yeah, so I grew up in Toronto. I have 2 older brothers, Alex and Ben. And, I think from a young age, I was always competing with them, trying to be as good as them, and always felt like I was a little bit behind. So I had developed this competitive edge. But our parents threw us into, every sport you can imagine. Like, I was on a ping pong club one year, then playing hockey, soccer, badminton, rugby. And I kind of just developed this mindset of like, try new things, be bad at them and continue to grow. And yeah, that kind of led me on this quest to play hockey competitively, and then eventually try out for a triathlon club at my university, where that was my first exposure to triathlon. So to answer your question, I grew up competitively, always competing and always trying new sports. But it wasn't until university that I first tried swimming, biking, and running.
Do you still compete with your brothers in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, we're still all pretty competitive. I live in Vancouver now, and one of my brothers lives in Toronto. One of them lives in Vancouver. But as you mentioned about the Ironman journey, what I'm really proud of is our first race. My first race was in New Zealand, and I actually did it with both of my brothers. So it was one of these special moments where, we all got to compete. And because this is live on air, I can say that I beat both Alex and Ben in that race. But no, it's great to be surrounded by, people, especially close family, that are willing to drive and compete and hold you accountable when training gets tough.
I really love that you talk about family, especially as a motivation. Would you say that that's what's inspired you to compete in the Ironman Championship?
Yeah, to me, it was just like a bucket list item, to be honest. Like, a friend of mine did an Ironman, and that's where it all started. And then, my brothers and I did the first one. And then I read about this Australian girl that went and did 7 ultra marathons. And I wondered, has anyone done that for Ironman? And when I looked at my research, nobody's done one on 7 continents for Ironman. The youngest to do one on 6 continents was 32, and I was 26 or 23 at the time. And
Wow.
so something in my mind, I was like, I don't know how, physically, financially, logistically, I'm going to do this, but I just knew I had a dream that I wanted to go all in on.
Oh,
And so that was the kind of driving force, was like, let's try and do something that's never been done before and just document the experience of what it takes to realize it, all the good, the bad, and the ugly.
oh wow.
I love
So
I love that you're just like, I don't know how I'm going to do that logistically. I have no idea, but I'm going to do that. I love that mindset. I think more people should adopt that mindset. Can you just tell the audience what exactly Ironman is?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great reminder. So an Ironman is a long form triathlon, which comprises of a 3.86 kilometer swim, a 180 kilometer bike ride, and a
Oh my gosh.
42.2 kilometer run.
wow.
So
Okay.
it's widely considered the single hardest day sporting event on the planet, and takes approximately, on average, about 13 hours to complete. That's a long
Wow.
time to sleep. So to move for that long is excruciatingly tough.
Okay, that would take me 13 like months to complete. Not even
Right.
kidding. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That is so much training. You must have
Right.
trained. How long was your training? How long did you train for that for an Ironman?
Yeah, so I mean, typically, my first one, I gave myself 6 months, and you trained about 20 plus hours a week. So I was managing
Okay.
a
Wow.
full-time job and trying to find,
Oh,
time to
wow.
swim, bike, run outside of that. But
Wow.
on average, people, almost spend a year trying to train up for their first Ironman.
And you did it
Right.
for 6 months.
Yeah, I was
While
just
working.
committed.
Yeah.
I was just committed. I mean, I had a background in sport, and I loved running. So, um, I mean, there were still many challenges. Like, I YouTubed how to swim, like I didn't grow up swimming,
Oh,
and
Wow.
wow.
just had to figure out by people around me. So I just showed up to like triathlon drop-in classes and memorized the workouts, and tried to like find a swim coach, and just put the pieces together. Honestly, it was just an experiment for me to like see what we could do and what I could do, and just loved the whole learning process about it.
So what were like the most exciting places you saw? What were some of the most exciting moments that you had while traveling around the world?
Yeah, so I mean, my first race, which was New Zealand, March 7th, 2020, and honestly, it feels like yesterday. But 10 days
Wow.
later, the pandemic hit, and I was stranded there for 60 days, and that's really where I dreamt up
Oh,
this
wow.
project. But the world shut down for a year, and then as soon as the world opened up, I was ready. I was like training so hard for it. I did 3 Ironmans in 3 months. So I went to Chattanooga in Tennessee, and then 2 weeks
Yeah.
later, I went to Mallorca, Spain, and 3 weeks after that, I went to South Africa, which is a
Oh,
lot
that's
of
so
stress
cool.
on your body, but each
Yeah.
one of them had, a pretty special experience. In South Africa, I went shark diving in a cage with sharks, and I learned about like the coffee culture there, and got to meet a lot of like the local people. And they had this saying that I'll never forget. It was like everywhere. It was like, your vibe attracts your tribe. And it was just these little things that you pull from each race that like stick with you. That was so rewarding. And to
Hmm.
me, this whole story became more than like triathlon. It became like the lessons you learn from the places you go and the people you meet. And that's what, we're creating a documentary on, and trying to highlight, is those heroes that helped me make it possible.
And I think I may have seen that when I went on your Instagram page, I saw there was a link to Chasing Antarctica, right? That's the article, I mean the documentary, correct?
Yeah, so Chasing Antarctica is kind of the title of the documentary, and chasingantarctica.com is the website. But to
Okay.
me, like, Chasing Antarctica was more of this philosophy, like, everybody should be chasing something, and it doesn't have to be Antarctica. Antarctica is like symbolic of something that's hard and challenging and you're
Yeah.
working towards. So that was kind of like the idea of it, the physical location, but also the mental, like something that's super unknown, and you're going after and discovering.
Right, right. And you've competed there as well, right?
Yeah, so
Tell us about that.
in
Hmm.
2022, I became the youngest person to do an Ironman on 6 continents. And then in 2024, like what is that, less than 2 months ago in February. I became the first person to do one on 7 continents. So Antarctica is unlike any of the other places. Obviously, there was no sanctioned race. It was just me in the wild. We actually took a sailboat that was 15 meters long across the Drake Passage, which is the roughest waters in the world. So like over 20,000 people have died trying to cross that channel. 800
I've sailed
boats
that a few
have sinking.
times too.
Have you?
Well, it's a different story, but yeah, I'll tell you about it in a second.
Oh, cool.
Not on a
Cool.
sailboat. I'm not that cool. I'm not that cool, but yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, so it took us 5 days on a sailboat just to get across, and like everybody was sick. But Antarctica, like the swim was -1 degree water temperatures. There was like literally an elephant seal, which was bigger than me, that was following me while I was swimming. We had a little safety boat beside me that was like scaring it off. And then like if the swim wasn't, physical torture, it was -1 degree water temperatures. Like, when you do a cold dip, that's like 6 to 10 degrees, -1 degree. Like I got goosebumps on top of goosebumps. It's insane. The bike was 180K and I did it on a fat bike, which is like a thicker tired wheel. And I did a 200-meter loop 900 times. So biked for 21 hours in a circle, which is just like mental.
Wow.
And then a marathon. So
and the
took me
temperature would have
32
been
hours.
what when you were biking?
I was like about -5 to -10. So it's
Okay.
cold, but
Cold,
like,
but not as cold as it gets.
Not as cold as it gets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Luigi, I don't even think he knows this, but I was a musician on cruise ships for like a long time, and I went to Antarctica a couple times. And so when we were sailing from Chile to Argentina, right through the Drake Passage, like you're saying, and the water could just be like coming over. If you were in the gym on the top deck of the gym, the water would be splashing the gym.
Yeah.
It was, so I cannot imagine what it would be like in a small, like sailing there or anything like that. And then you get to Antarctica, and it's so different than anything you've ever seen, because there's like no life, right? There's no like light. It's just snow and penguins and like icebergs. And then it's just, and so quiet. Right. So because they have all these
super humbling.
They really and strict environmental laws, because they don't want anything kind of like coming from the outside and messing up their environment. Right. So everything is like pristine and quiet. And it was really, really cold, obviously. But then there's penguins just like jumping around on the icebergs. It's amazing.
So literally, like, while I was running, I had to stop and let the penguin go across my track, because you're not allowed to like engage in the wildlife encounters, right? But yeah, Antarctica, I feel super, super lucky and fortunate that we were able to go, because it was like, it's bigger than Europe and Africa. Like, it's massive place. You feel so small. There was like thousands of penguins, whales, orcas, like dolphins beside our boat, like 40-meter icebergs. Like, it just felt like out of a movie set, honestly. And it just makes you feel so small. And so to me, like
something that like most people will never get to see, right? You got to see something that just a small percentage of people will ever see. So it's really humbling in that way too. Yeah. So how did you sailed from where? Like, where did you start that journey down to Antarctica?
Yeah, so from the bottom of Argentina is literally called the end of the world, or Fin del Mundo in Spanish. I probably butchered that, but forgive me. It's called Ushuaia, and that's where most of the port kind of sailings across the Drake Passage start from. So yeah, we spent 23 days on a 15-meter sailboat, which is a long time to be with 7
that
people.
Is really long time. Did you get seasick?
Yeah, everybody got seasick. Wasn't immune to that.
That's the worst.
As you talk about all these experiences, I'm curious to know if experience any setback on your journey, and really how did you overcome them, right? Because again, everything just sounds so intense right now. It's and you're here, you're thriving, you've done other things afterwards. Like, so how did you overcome these setbacks and yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of setbacks. One, the pandemic shutting down the world. 5 out of the 6 original races I had planned were canceled or changed, and the dates were changed. When I went to the Philippines, my bike didn't make it, so I had to like find a new bike. Literally, I went to a Starbucks or a coffee shop and like borrowed their phone and called every bike shop around the city to try
Wow.
and find a bike. My bike broke during the training. I had close friends and family that were dealing with, tough mental challenges. And I think, I'm a big advocate with Movember and men's health, and,
Mhm.
movement is such a great medicine for anybody dealing with, tough times. Um, the funding, I think people see this project and they're like, wow, that's incredible, but they don't realize, like, I was the marketer, the fundraiser,
Oh wow.
logistics, the athlete, working full time. Like, it was way more than just the physical feat. It was essentially launching my own business in a way. I'm still paying off a lot of debt and loans that I took out because I just believed so much in this project.
Mhm.
Antarctica was over $50,000 that, like,
Wow.
I don't have. And I worked with some sponsors that believed in the project, but I had to,
Wow.
take out a loan to put down the deposit with the boat. And a lot of times people thought I was crazy. It's like, how could you possibly take these risks? But, I made these sweaters I'm wearing now, and it just says, make it happen. It's like, if you have a dream, like, champions make it happen. You find a way, no matter the circumstances or the obstacles, to overcome them.
Mhm.
And that was my reminder to keep going through the hard times.
Are you
It's
selling those
it was gonna be
sweaters you're
my
wearing?
question.
Let me just ask
The
that too.
Connor swag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am actually. So it says make it happen. And then on the back, it's got like the Chasing Antarctica logo and the
Oh, cool.
Nice.
website, and the proceeds are going towards our film. So yeah, there'll be a link on my website and Instagram page for those. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
So what about setbacks in terms of your own health?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I got stranded on my way home from Africa for 14 days with quarantine. So I was put into like a place, like a hotel, for 14 days on my way home from Africa because I contracted Omicron. And
Mm.
there's a lot of
Okay.
isolation, like just navigating this. And I like had a lot of like knee injuries and my hip, and I think the mental, fatigue, honestly, is something that you can't really put like a challenge marker on, but is a real thing. Is like, you're exhausted trying
Yeah.
to do everything. And there was a lot of moments where I confided in close friends of like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I put everything into this, and no sponsors are willing to jump on this story. Like, I don't know, like, how can I keep going? To me, it was just like I was exhausted. And
Right.
even now it's like I'm done, but I'm exhausted because, like, it just all catching up to me. But yeah.
So what are your plans next?
Yeah, that's the infamous question. So, I think there's always, when you get to a mountain, there's always going to be another mountain to climb, but I'm trying to take time to like enjoy the view, sort of speak in an analogy. But we're working on the documentary, and I'm writing a book, and I'm doing public speaking now. So I joined with a speaker agency to share the story with businesses and events and conferences. Lessons of resilience and determination, and what it
Mhm.
takes to realize a dream and reach peak performance. So I'm really excited about all of those things. Um, and I'm going to continue to do triathlon, continue to help other people in their races. So I've been coaching people in triathlon and helping them get across their finish lines, which has been super rewarding, because I knew it was super hard when I first started to like find the right person to look up to or ask
Partner.
questions.
Right.
So it's been
I
it's
can
been cool to
imagine.
see.
Yeah, and that this book that you're writing, I think it's gonna resonate with so many people, like not even just athletes, right? Just anyone who's trying to persevere and overcome whatever challenges that are in their life in any field. That's just such a good message. I'm so excited for that book. I can't wait to read it. And
Yeah.
yeah, just that message can resonate just across the country, across the world, really, especially when
Across
this
a lot of
documentary
different,
is coming
oh
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
across a lot of different
where's
subjects
the
too.
yeah, right, exactly. Um, where's the plans for the documentary to be released?
I think it's gonna take some time. Like we have thousands and thousands of hours of footage from each location.
Mhm.
So we're working on distilling that. So I'll continue to
Mhm.
put updates on the website and Instagram, but probably
Oh,
closer to the
beautiful.
end of the year.
Okay.
Okay. The end of this year, 2024.
Yeah, no promises, but that's the target
Yeah.
goal.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Well,
Mhm.
really good to know. And outside of that, very curious to know if you have any hobbies outside the competition, the documentary. Is there anything else that you do on your free time that you really enjoy?
Yeah, so much. Love music, love coffee. I do a little thing called Coffee with Connor where I go check out new coffee shops and I'll do like a quote, a joke, or like some kind of thought worth sipping on. So that's been kind of fun. As you can see, I got
Well,
a
that's
coffee
cool.
machine right here.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's called Coffee with Connor, and it's just sometimes I feature friends or special guests on it, and I
Right,
think it's
right.
just like
Nice.
the whole idea is to like amplify optimism and smiles. We live in such a tough world, and like it's just I think smiles are free, and if you can smile more, like they're contagious, and more people will smile, and that's the kind of goal with it.
You love music, you said. Do you play any instruments?
No,
A little
no.
Please
bit?
say singing. Please say singing. Please say singing. Do you
No,
sing at all? Or
Luigi's a karaoke diva over here.
yeah. I mean,
and Dana has
I
an
think,
album.
oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm no musician like you two. Yeah, I used to play the flute.
Oh, really?
Really
Like
cool.
in school, in band or
Yeah, in
something?
school. In school, I
Oh,
was in
wow.
it's called Festival Winds. It was like a musical band, and we like traveled to the States, and that's pretty
Oh,
embarrassing
well.
actually that I'm saying that. But I mean, I guess not. But
That's, I think you should put that in the documentary.
yeah,
Video you
bringing
playing
back
flute.
memories. But
That's funny.
yeah.
Do you have any
Yeah.
hobbies
Well,
with your siblings? Like anything that you guys do together outside of competing?
Yeah, we're always like catching up. We've been getting into like cold exposure and like sauna and just like finding cool like remedy spots. So there's lots of cool
is
Nice.
little
that where you
spots
sit in the
around
cold?
Vancouver.
Yeah, you sit in that cold water and ah, is that what you're talking about? And it's supposed to be good for you?
Yeah,
That's
Supposed
a
to be.
cold
terrifying to me.
plunge. Cold
Yeah, have you
plunge.
seen this, Luigi?
I actually did it when I went to Montreal, where I went someplace that was really cold. No, it was really hot. It was a sauna, super hot, and then
Yeah.
you stay for a very specific period of time, and then you go and you submerge in really really cold water for a minute. So
Yeah.
it's a
And you liked
thing.
it?
Is that what you did? I survived. I'm here. It was
That's
quite the
funny.
experience, though.
I mean, I love hot springs. I love hot springs. And BC has some great hot springs, right?
Yeah.
Harrison and there's a bunch. But I went to this spa thing in, I think it was in the Dominican, and it was like it was like an obstacle course of spa. And it was like we walk across the warm stones, then you sit in the cold plunge, and you sit in the sauna. And I was like, this is torture. I was like, felt like I was being tortured. They had this one where you stand in this like shower stall and they poured ice bucket over me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I think people love it, but so I could not have even, survived one day of what you did.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
I mean, it's great contrast therapy, and I did a lot of it leading up to Antarctica to try and, get
yeah.
acquainted with the cold.
And
But
you went from like extreme cold to, I mean, it must have been really hot in,
I would think
where
so.
was the hottest you were?
oh, the Philippines. The Philippines was like
Really? Oh, wow.
it was like 40 degrees Celsius. Like
Oh
Even
my,
though that's
it
hot.
was literally hotter than on a sauna. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
I lost 10 pounds during that race and went straight to the medical tents
are you
because I
serious?
was, yeah, it was
Wow.
like insane.
That's
Like
intense.
I had like almost third-degree arm burns that was
That's
like
too serious.
exfoliating for months afterwards because I got like so heat stroke and burnt, and
Because
it
you were
was
biking out in the sun, you mean?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Oh my God,
it was
that's
insane.
so dangerous.
And I would
And you
imagine
Yeah,
had,
wearing sunscreen and sweating so much, it just gets rid of it. So now
exactly.
right.
can't
And that would be, you said, was it 20 hours? How many
so
hours
long.
did it take biking?
So Philippines, I don't know, I think it took me like 14 hours or something to do the race. So
It's not
my
enough.
my
Mm.
last race was like 11 hours, and that one took me 14 or 15 hours because of the heat. And then Antarctica took
Wow.
me 32 hours and 42 minutes, which is like, Ironman Brazil, which is the sixth one I did versus Antarctica. Antarctica was 3 times longer, which is insane.
Wow.
Wow. That is impressive. That is amazing.
Very
I mean,
impressive.
that's like all of the elements. Just, I just can't even imagine being like in those types of heat and cold for so long. That's amazing. And while you're exerting yourself, right, for hours. So, and did
Yeah.
you have to like gain that weight back really quickly? Like, what did you?
Yeah, I just went to KFC and, ordered a bucket of chicken. Just stuffed my
Nice.
face.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
We didn't
yeah.
get a chance to talk about diet here. So maybe very briefly, how would you say your diet is with training so much and staying on top of your game? Like because you just mentioned KFC and a lot of people, associate KFC with, there's a very specific association with KFC. I love my buckets of chicken, but I digress. What has your nutritious regimen been like?
Okay. I mean, I was joking when I said KFC. I didn't go actually after the race, but
I
I
wasn't
totally
um,
thought you
sure.
were serious.
It went
Yeah.
over my head.
okay. Yeah. Some of my jokes, just go over a lot of people's heads too. So it's all right. Um, yeah. So I mean, to me, like in racing, I heard this thing, and I'm not like a vegan or have like a vegetarian diet or anything like that, but I heard this thing a long time ago that the less legs, the better. So it was like, 4 legs as a cow is like red meat is not as good for you as 2 legs, which is a chicken,
Mhm.
which is not as good for you as 0 legs, which is like a fish, right? So when I'm in like kind of that optimal like race mentality and like leading up to the race, I'll actually try and limit like steak and chicken, and just try and eat fish, and lots of greens, lots of veg. I think like to me, you know, having like a 80-20 rule where you're all in, but you still 80% of the time, but 20% of the time you still are able to treat yourself and like enjoy life is the key, because I've seen so many people, they start following these programs and they do them for a month and then fall off because it's too regimented. But I think my secret was like limiting the amount of um, you know, fried foods or snacks or like temptations that, most people have a hard time doing, is like if you can limit
Mhm.
them and not like take them out completely for a longer period of time, that'll be better off than doing a hardcore diet for a short period of time.
Really,
Very
really
true.
cool. Backed up by a
Very
lot of
true.
studies as
You'd have
well.
to allow yourself a little bit, right? Or you're just gonna give up. I totally agree with
Balance.
that.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, balance for sure. Sometimes I just want to eat cake all day. Not balance. But no, they have these Lara bars. I don't know if anybody's into Lara bars or whatever, but They have like the minis now, or they've maybe been around a long time, but I just discovered them, and they're like half the size of a normal Lara. Have you seen these, Luigi?
I don't think so. What are they called?
Lara bars,
They're
I
and
think,
they're like,
are they just in the States? I mean,
oh, maybe they are. I
they're
don't
from
know.
they're popular at Trader Joe's, so I've been there
Yeah.
and I've had
That
some,
would
but I
make
haven't seen them in
sense.
Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad. I'll have to bring some up to Vancouver when I'm in the forum. But they have they're like 4 ingredients. They're good because they're only 4 ingredients. They're very, very, they don't have the preservatives and all the other stuff in there. It's like dates, chocolate, and they have one that's double chocolate. It is so good, but it's it's like still pretty healthy, but it's like eating a chocolate dessert. Oh, it's stuff like that. If you can, sneak it into your diet too, because it's really hard for people to have like, major sugar cravings and dessert cravings, and you just finding like something that gives you that I'm still eating dessert, but it's much, much better than like going out and getting a chocolate ganache cake or something. So yeah, there's just ways, but I like what you're saying is so true. You have to, the 80-20 for sure. For sure.
It's a really good number.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it also helps like, staying on your diet and making sure that also makes you feel better, right? You don't want to like what you put in your body really matters, and for exercise, and especially for you, Connor, when you're like biking for 14 hours or whatever, like your body needs to be functioning properly and
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
doing all those things. So it's like you got to have the right fuel.
Yeah, sure.
What would you? I have one more question. What that wasn't. I wasn't originally going to ask this, but what advice would you give to anyone in Canada? that says exercise. I don't have time for it. It's too overwhelming. It's too hard. I'm too busy. Anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like there's always time to find movement, and it doesn't have to be, going to the gym. It could be like walking a dog or walking a friend's dog, or like walking to a coffee shop that's a little bit farther than you usually do, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator at work, and just finding like ways, or when you go to the grocery store, like park in a parking spot that's a little bit further away. It's like it doesn't have to be so extreme all the time, but finding easy wins and building on those is the way to, reward yourself, and I think help yourself. And I think, if you can join a group, like there's lots of great run clubs in every city. There's lots of great social clubs that are all about activities, whether it's yoga or, I'm all about trying new things. I said it from the beginning of this podcast, of just like trying random things. Maybe you never know what you like. Like I tried ping pong and I was like, so random, but I love it. And that's a great form of movement, right? And finding like a little group that tries new things, I think is the key.
Yeah.
Love that so much. Lots of great lessons today, right? From getting things, developing your mindset and making things happen, to the 80-20 rule where you're finding balance with your life, to even now talking about community. So many amazing lessons, right? Just to make for a quality life rather than one that is super rigid.
Sure.
Yeah. So everyone look out for Connor's documentary. Super exciting. And book.
Absolutely. So on this note, thank you so much, Connor, for joining us today. Thank you to everyone for tuning in for this episode. Again, we're your hosts, Luigi and Dana. Of course, to learn more about Connor, don't hesitate to visit his Instagram page at connor.emeny. So his first name dot his last name, as well as his website, chasingantarctica.com. Like Dana said, watch out for that documentary. And don't ever forget to check out our pages at Let's Move Canada on Instagram for latest updates. Feel free to head over to our website, chfi.fit, to learn more about our mission. And don't hesitate to DM us if you have any suggestions for next topics or next speakers and any announcements. So we'll be looking forward to seeing all of you next time in our podcast. Thank you so much.